It began not with kings or armies, but with merchants. In the year 1600, a handful of English traders signed a royal charter, granting them the right to sail east, to trade with India, and to seek fortune in a world of spices, silk, and gold. No one could have imagined that this small band of businessmen would one day conquer half a continent. Welcome to Echoes of Empire, where we bring the forgotten stories of Britain's past back to life. This is the untold rise of a company that built an empire not ruled by monarchs, but by money. The story of ambition, betrayal, and conquest. The story of how a trading company became more powerful than kings. The 17th century was the dawn of global greed. Europe's powers, Spain, Portugal, the Dutch, were carving the world into colonies. England was late to the race. So Queen Elizabeth I granted a charter to a new venture, the Governor and Company of Merchants of London trading into the East Indies. They sailed with fragile ships and uncertain dreams, through storms, mutinies, and hunger. At first, they came as traders. They built small factories along India's coast, in Surat, Madras, Calcutta, and Bombay. They brought silver, took spices. They bowed to Indian emperors, paid taxes to local rulers, and promised friendship. But beneath the politeness of trade burned a hunger for power. In India, the Mughal Empire ruled with splendor. Its cities glowed with marble palaces and perfumed gardens. The British were guests, tolerated, not trusted. But when the Mughal throne began to crack, opportunity opened like a wound. The East India Company learned the oldest rule of empire. Trade follows the flag, and the flag follows the sword. They hired private armies, British officers, Indian sepoys, to defend their interests. Soon, those armies fought not just for trade, but for territory. The merchant had become the soldier. 1757. The humid plains of Bengal. A young officer named Robert Clive faced the Nawab of Bengal at Plassey. The odds were impossible. Yet Clive had something gold could not buy: betrayal. The Nawab's own generals switched sides mid-battle. By nightfall, Bengal, India's richest province, belonged to the company. In London, Parliament celebrated. In India, the age of conquest had begun. The East India Company was now no longer a trading partner. It was a ruler. Its flag flew over millions who had never heard of London, but whose lives were now bound to its will. What followed was a new kind of empire, ruled not by monarchs, but by merchants. Clive returned to England a millionaire, accused of corruption but hailed as a hero. The company grew monstrous, draining India's wealth through taxes, trade monopolies, and exploitation. In Bengal, famine struck in 1770. Millions died as company warehouses stayed full. Even British observers rode in horror. The misery is beyond imagination. But for London, the East India Company meant profit, power, and prestige. Tea from India, textiles from Bengal, opium for China, all flowed through its ships. Behind every luxury in Britain lay a shadow cast from the East. By the early 1800s, the company commanded an army larger than Britain's own. It ruled over millions, minted coins, signed treaties, and waged wars. Governors in Calcutta acted like kings, building palaces, dictating policy, and rewriting India's fate. The company conquered Mysore, the Marathas, and Punjab. Every war, every treaty, every rebellion expanded its dominion, until India was no longer a land of empires, but a colony in all but name. Yet even as it rose, corruption spread within its ranks. Directors in London fought over dividends. Officers in India enriched themselves through bribes. The very machine that built an empire was rotting from within. Then came 1857, the Great Uprising, known to some as the Sepoy Mutiny, to others as the First War of Independence. Indian soldiers who once fought for the company turned their guns against it. Cities burned. The empire trembled. The British Crown intervened, brutally, decisively. Tens of thousands were killed. The company's rule was finished. In 1858, the British government dissolved it entirely. Queen Victoria became Empress of India, and the BritishRaj was born. The merchant's empire had fallen, but the Crown's empire had begun. Today, its story is a warning carved into history. A company that began with trade ended with tyranny. Its profits built Britain's wealth. Its greed scarred India's soul. The railways, the bureaucracy, the language, all carry traces of its rule. The East India Company proved that empire can begin with contracts, not cannons, and that power built on profit will always demand a price. The company is gone, but its ghost remains in every coin, every map, every echo of empire that still shapes the modern world. From London's counting houses to India's battlefields, from merchant ships to marble palaces, the East India Company transformed the world. It rose through ambition, ruled through deception, and fell through its own greed. The greatest empire of merchants became the empire of monarchs. This was Echoes of Empire. Subscribe for more untold stories from the heart of Britain's history.